Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Mind, the official podcast of Missouri S&T Athletics. Patrick Murphy here with you again. As always, special episode coming up for you today. Have a couple of athletics alumni that'll be joining us on the show from baseball, as this week in the Missouri S&T baseball team will be hosting a reunion to commemorate their 2011 and 2012 GLVC West Division champion and NCAA tournament teams. So excited to have a couple members of those teams come on the show today. But before we get to all that, I want to take a moment to let you know this episode is presented by Missouri S&T corporate club member Dickey's Barbecue Pit. I want to again thank them for their support of Missouri S&T athletics and all they do to help support us. Again, also, if you could please be a friend, tell a friend about this show as we continue to look to grow it and tell the stories of our student athletes, alums, staff, and everybody involved with Missouri S&T athletics. We just recently passed 1,000 total plays across all platforms. So thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to join us and listen along and watch along wherever you may follow along with this show, and be sure to subscribe. That way you don't miss any future discussions. And if you have missed anything, you can always go back on minorathletics.com under the fan zone tab. We've got all previous episodes archived there. Plenty to get to before we get into that awesome conversation coming up. We'll start with a recap of the last week in athletics, starting with men's golf. A couple of events to recap. Last week, men's golf was up in St. Charles competing at the Lindenwood Invitational. I believe we mentioned on the last episode they had finished competition on day one. They ended up taking home a team title on day two, leapfrog past the host Lions in the final day of action, picked up their second team win of the season, first of the spring. Carl Milton earned co-medalist honors, finished tied for third with a 54-hole score of 218, while Yepa Taibo, Gustav Lillidahl, and Fat Ho Yang all placed inside the top 20 of that event as well. This week, men's golf was back in action at the Natural State Golf Classic, hosted by Harding University in Heber Springs, Arkansas, at the Red Apple Inn and Country Club. And again, it was another strong showing for the Miners. Took home a third place effort overall as a team in the 36-hole event with a score of 568 over the 2 days, Monday and Tuesday of this week. Carl Milton was in contention for medalist honors once again, shot a 139 over the 2 days, both rounds under par, finished top five overall. Colin Stolze finished ninth in that event, while Gustav Lillidahl was also in the top 15, finished T12. Fat Ho Yang and Yepa Taibo also in the top 20, as all five of the players for the S&T team score were in the top 20, while Nihal Shah also competed down there in Heber Springs this weekend and finished just outside the top 50. Did record an eagle on the par 4 15th early in his round on Tuesday. Softball was looking to keep their winning ways going last weekend. They stepped out of conference back on Friday for a doubleheader against Cotty College. Unfortunately for S&T, their winning streak came to an end, dropped both ends of that doubleheader to the Comets by scores of 7-2 and 6-4. Off day on Saturday before Kathy Monroe's Ball Club got back to GLVC action on the road at Drury. Now the number 3 team in the GLVC softball standings, held S&T to check in both, or held S&T in check at the plate in both of those games. Beat the Miners 7-2 and 7-2. 7-1 and 7-2, excuse me, falling over my words here. Performances to note from over the weekend: Hannah Anseladas went 3 for 7 in the doubleheader with Cotty with a home run, 3 RBIs. Chloe Saltagerald and Ellie Viox also had 2 hits apiece in games against Drury on Sunday. Yesterday, Tuesday, softball was back in action, back at home at the S&T softball field, taking on Lincoln in another doubleheader to wrap up the season series against the Blue Tigers. And it was a windy day, but S&T overcame the elements and overcame the opposition, took both ends of that doubleheader, winning 5-0 over Lincoln in game 1 and 8-3 game 2 yesterday. Game 1, Bryn Wooldridge had a career day, struck out a career best 13 batters. Out of the 24 that she faced, allowed just 1 hit, no earned runs, went the distance in that game. Shannon Flowers hit a home run, while Ashley Davis had a double. Hannah Anseladas tripled again. Flowers also drove in 3 of S&T's 5 runs in that ball game. In the nightcap, S&T picked up again that 8-3 win. Charlie Rowland got the win in the circle. Freshman Julia Canoy got the save, working the final 3 innings of that game. Again, on the contest, Flowers hit a home run, doubles from Viox and Emma Vaughn. Viox drove in 2. Hannah Enceladus went 2 for 4 in that game with 3 RBIs as well. Miners will be back on the road this weekend on the softball diamond, though. We got the St. Louis swing coming up. They'll head to Lindenwood on Saturday to open the weekend before wrapping things up Sunday at Maryville. Track and field kicked off their outdoor season last Saturday at the Minor Invitational hosted at Allgood Bailey Stadium with 10 first-place finishes and 8 second-place showings, along with 5 NCAA Division II provisional qualifying marks. Nathan Swadley took home a couple of podium finishes, top spot in the shot put with a mark of 56.6, along with the hammer throw at 187.8, while also taking home a runner-up spot in the discus with an effort of 150.4 inches. S&T's other wins on the men's side of the event came from Aaron Jones in the triple jump, Mitch Fairless in the high jump, Joseph Nickel in the pole vault, Jarrett Johnson in the javelin, Spencer Teskey in the 3,000-meter steeplechase, and Lucas Rackers in the 1,500 meters, just edging out teammate Hayes Petittle with a time of 3:57.25 versus Petittle with a 3:57.39. On the women's side, Emily Griesenauer won the 5,000 meters, while Grace Geisler took home the top spot in the 3,000-meter steeplechase, while Anne-Marie Tyson was a runner-up in the high jump, clearing a height of 5'4.25". Also on the women's side, S&T finished second in the 4x1 relay with a team of Keaton Painter, Danielle Wilson, Delaney Guy, and Maya Washington in a time of 51.27, less than 0.4 of a second off Columbia College's winning time. Washington also took third in the 100 meters in time of 12.45 seconds. While Wilson finished fourth in that event. Washington also finished 1 spot ahead of Wilson in the 200 meters and also placed sixth in that event, while Wilson finished 7th. In the throwing events on the women's side, Jessica Rhodes took third in the discus with a mark of 131.6. Sydney Stevens finished 5th in the event with a distance of 119.6, while Paige Lambright was 6th at 116.2. Also had 3 throwers in the top 7 in the hammer throw. On the women's side with Stevens finishing 5th, Rhodes in 6th, and Brittany Moore in 7th. Baseball opened up GLVC play over the weekend with a 4-game series against Truman State at the ballpark at S&T. Despite playing GLVC opponents the last couple weeks, the Miners finally opened up conference play against the Bulldogs, taking the opener in a run rule affair in Friday, winning in 8 innings, 14-8. Truman State bounced back in the first game Saturday to win 10-8, despite a late rally in the bottom of the 7th by Missouri S&T, who actually did come from behind in the second game Saturday, picked up a 5-4 win to guarantee at least a split. Sunday, Miners were looking for the series win, but couldn't quite muster that, as Truman managed to get the finale by a score of 8-5 and split that opening weekend of league play. Standout performances from baseball this weekend: Dylan Mollett moved to 3-0 in the year with a win in game 1, went 6 1/3 innings, struck out 5, allowed 1 earned run. Freshman Jacob Cook picked up the win in relief in game 3, worked 2 scoreless innings, struck out 3. At the plate, Dakota Sill went 9-15 with 4 doubles, 7 runs scored over the weekend. Doug Wood went 8-15 with a home run and 7 RBIs. I believe he's got an 11-game active hitting streak. Chase Burgess had a really good weekend at the dish, as did newcomer Tommy Reether. Both of them had nearly identical lines this weekend, went 6-13 and 6-14 respectively, with a double home run, 4 RBIs, and 4 runs scored. Can read more about the full results of all of that action over at minorathletics.com. Week ahead, as I already mentioned, softball's got the St. Louis swing coming up. Track and field will be in Bolivar this weekend for the SBU Bearcat Invite, while baseball will be back at home again this weekend as they close out a busy month of March at home, hosting Lewis in another Great Lakes Valley Conference series beginning Friday at 2 p.m. with doubleheader action Saturday and a single game scheduled for Sunday at 12 p.m. Again, you can find all information about the upcoming slate of events at minorathletics.com, and we look forward to seeing everybody who can come out and cheer on the Miners this weekend. We'll step aside, take a short break, be back on the other side with our first conversation, first alumni on this show. Excited to have those conversations, excited to chat with those guys. But we'll take a quick break, reset, and be back on the other side on this episode of Inside the Mine, again, presented by Dickey's Barbecue Pit. to this episode of Inside the Mind, presented by Dickey's Barbecue Pit. Joining us now, he was a member of the Missouri S&T baseball team from 2011 to 2014, was a part of two GOVC West Division title-winning teams, and was a part of Missouri S&T's 2011 NCAA tournament team. His 239 and 2/3 innings of work rank second all-time in program history behind his teammate Zack Gronek. His 17 career wins are also fifth most in a minor uniform. He also ranks in the top 10 all-time in several other categories. Single season wins with 7, career strikeouts with 127, and ERA with a mark of 3.45. Graduated from Missouri S&T with a degree in architectural engineering and is now currently working for Arco Construction in St. Louis. Please welcome to the show, John Auble. John, I know the life of an engineer is never one that's got too many slow moments, but appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I know you're on new father duty again here coming up, so congratulations on that. But thanks for taking time out of your busy day and chatting with us.
Yeah, no problem, Patrick. I appreciate you having me, and didn't even know many of those stats, so that's cool to hear. And, appreciate the kudos on the upcoming baby here.
Yeah, it's child number 2. Hope everything's going well with that and everything else. So we'll kind of go ahead and jump right into the conversation here, and I guess we'll kind of start at the beginning here. You were a Lutheran South guy in high school, right?
Yep.
All-state selection, had a really good senior year. When you were coming up through high school and you were kind of starting to figure, hey, I'm good enough to play college baseball, and you're trying to figure out what you wanted to study and where you may have wanted to attend, what was it about Missouri S&T that caught your eye? And was it, did you know from the beginning you wanted to do engineering, or was that something you kind of figured out? Just kind of how did you end up in Rolla for your time in college?
It's a really funny story. I actually was not S&T. It was a thought, and it was part of a discussion with my parents and I. I checked all the childhood prereqs of like an engineer. Like I loved to build things. I loved playing with Legos. School came pretty naturally for me. I got good grades, and I loved to solve problems. So, it was an option. However, I was not really sold because, I think S&T can sometimes have a connotation, right? On engineering school, it doesn't sound that fun. It doesn't sound that exciting. I want to go to college. I want to have fun. So
sure.
It's completely false, right? Like S&T was one of my favorite places in the world. But as a dumb high schooler, I didn't really look into it or give it a whole lot of serious thought. And in my senior year, I'd gone to some showcases. I had talked to several colleges. I wouldn't say I tried very hard, but because I didn't really know what I wanted to study or what I wanted to do, I kind of committed verbally to Webster University in St. Louis, actually. And I hadn't, signed anything or officially signed up. And I was actually it was summer. So it was like, July. And I had a tournament. I think it was down in the Cape Girardeau area. I was playing on a team that was kind of based out of there at the time. And Coach Todd was at that tournament and saw me throw and offered me an opportunity shortly thereafter. That's where, it really set in as a possibility. It was a great opportunity. And that's where the long, hard conversations with my parents sort of set in. And, God bless them, because they saw the value and the opportunity in going to a school of that caliber. And I just wasn't sure it was right for me. I felt like it was a large commitment to say at 18 years old, this is what I want to do, because I was so unsure.
Sure. Yeah. And this all is like summer, getting ready to go into your freshman year of college.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, it's way late in the game. Right. And my parents, like I said, I'm very appreciative for them because they continue to push me,
Mhm.
and force me to kind of challenge myself. And I took the opportunity, and I moved into the quad, which is like mostly torn down now.
I think,
Um,
yeah, there's only 2 buildings left.
I was in like overflow housing, so it was like
Mhm.
above like the volleyball offices and KM&R, and there were like cockroaches running around. I didn't have a roommate,
Yeah.
and it was shortly thereafter where I ran into Clint Wabi, who was actually an old friend, and I had played with him previously, but I had
Mhm.
no idea he was going to be there. So it was a little scary at first, kind of, last minute, but met the team, met the guys, and felt very comfortable right away.
It's always interesting to hear everybody's kind of journey of how they, how they, end up at Missouri S&T. And, I definitely, looking back now, I'd say it definitely worked out for you pretty
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Um, when you
absolutely.
coming in as a freshman, I think it was coming off that 2010 season. S&T had, I think it was a 19 and 33. Yeah, 19 and 33 in 2010. Coming into that 2011 season, obviously as a freshman and everything else, what was just kind of the feel around the team that year? And then once games, once the season gets underway, um, at what point did you guys realize that there might be something special about that group?
Mhm.
And when did you realize, hey, we got a chance to do something really really unique here?
As a 19-year-old freshman, you certainly don't appreciate um, what you have until you kind of look back a little bit
Hmm.
after some years. However, I knew immediately that we had a great group of guys.
Hmm.
I knew that everyone on that team um, contributed in some way or fashion, whether it be just from a personality standpoint. The team just really gelled well together,
Hmm.
and everyone on that team was just such a fantastic guy. And I think that is really telling because like I'm still really good friends with all of those guys, and like we regularly hang out together.
Yeah, Alex Dunn, Zach Carter, Lee Voth, Will Morrison, Zack
Yeah,
Gronek,
yeah,
Harry.
a
No,
bunch of the
yeah,
sophomore guys.
yeah.
I so that was like something that struck to me most. It's just like, man, all these guys they're all unique and they're all different than
Hmm.
where I came from, what I do, and however, everyone had a really good attitude around the team, around work ethic, around I think they came from good, successful backgrounds, so success was something that was expected
Hmm.
on the field, and just having that group of the right characters, no bad apples or anything like that. Just having that good mix of guys was part of the reason for the success. And having thought about it several years after, it's definitely evident that just we just had such a good group.
Oh, for sure. We know Missouri S&T had been in the GOVC for several years at that point, and had been kind of, obviously before Todd took over, and for a few years after Todd took over the program, it was trying to shift the culture and change the perception around the baseball program, and get it back to winning on a regular basis. Um, you guys closed out the year with still a program record today, 10-game winning streak. It started second game of a doubleheader against Quincy on April the 22nd. And, you guys swept Maryville on the road, came home, swept UMSL to end the regular season, and then picked up a win against Bellarmine first round of the GLVC tournament. And that was the first GLVC West Division title that the program had won since joining the league. Going at that point in the season, just what's how looking back, how does that feel, knowing that you were part of a group that helped to change the culture and lay the foundation for what has been now continued success with the baseball program here at S&T?
Hmm. I it's awesome. It feels great. I think that Todd has always had that vision,
Hmm.
and he's really worked hard at sorry, coach. Still call him coach. But he's worked really hard to build that. And it's so much of it is the expectation, right?
Mhm.
You come into a winning program, you expect to win, and it took several years to get to that point, to be a serious contender within this conference, which is a tough conference, right? The
Oh yeah.
GLVC.
No, we talk about that all the time. It's everybody just beats each other up every week, and by the time the postseason rolls around, you see who's left.
Right. That's exactly right. Um, and Todd, he had a unique challenge because at an engineering school, your pool of potential candidates is not the same as every other college in across the country.
Sure.
So
Yeah. You got to recruit engineers who are ball players, not necessarily ball players who can also be engineers.
absolutely, it's a tough job, but um, he adapted sort of the team, as you know, kind of around the strengths of the team, whether it be small ball or base running or
Hmm.
fundamentals or whatever it is. It's like that's he worked with what he had and worked to incorporate strategy and coaching around that. So that's that sticks with me. I know that it wasn't easy, and I'm sure he wished he had just some absolute meathead monsters who could crush homers over the plate every day.
Sure.
Which it sounds like you guys got some big power on the team now.
I have
Uh,
never seen. I mean, there's don't get me wrong. There's been some home runs this year that have been out no matter what, but I don't think I've seen the wind do what the wind has done in 7 years of being around this program. What it's been doing this year. So,
really
yeah,
blowing out hard.
yeah. There's been a few days where it's just whipping.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Jumping back to that 2011 season, that was also the first time that the program had made the national tournament in going on, I think, 40 years at that point.
Mhm.
Um, so that just another historic moment for that team. And then you guys went back and almost kind of ran it back again in 2012. Another 30-win season, another GLVC West Division title. Um, Pull it up here real quick. Yeah, 32-15 in 2012.
Wow.
That was your second year in the program. Um, how much did you guys who were still returning from that 2011 team? How much kind of a leadership role did you guys take with that next group
Mhm.
that came in 2012, and then the next group and the next group, and then by the time you were a senior, you knew what it took to get and compete at that level
Mhm.
and achieve everything that we set out to achieve in those preseason meetings.
Yeah, I think that again, that talking going back to that 2010, that 20, well, I guess it was 2011.
Yeah.
That season, having some of the old guard who had seen some of the more low points
Hmm.
of the program and some of the challenges that they've been through,
Hmm.
we got such an influx from the JUCO guys my freshman year. So that junior class was exceptional. We had Caffrey behind the plate, we had Lee in left field, we had
Hmm.
Will Morrison in center field, several others. But those guys provided so much leadership on and off the field
Hmm.
that I think they were a large part of that initial success. Um, and then you had some of the younger guys that kind of stepped in, like myself, and my role wasn't initially defined. I started out of the bullpen initially, but worked my way into the starting rotation.
Hmm.
And you just had some other younger guys that were providing a jolt of talent and energy. And
Hmm.
so it was a great group of like levels of experience with the program, new leadership that kind of swooped in, like senior leadership between
Hmm.
juniors and some transfers. And I think that's what really set the tone, and then pushed that continued success in
Hmm.
practice and on the weekends.
Uh, just kind of pivoting a little bit, not necessarily talking about baseball so much, but as an academic at S&T, obviously it's a very prestigious university. Well, getting a degree from there is, it's everybody knows what Missouri S&T is. Uh, how were things for you here academically? You said school always kind of came easy to you coming up, and how was there much of a transition from high school to college studies for you, and just kind of how was your time, as the student part of a student athlete here at Missouri S&T?
Yeah. As I mentioned, I wasn't sure I wanted to commit.
Hmm.
That was part of it. But I was also a little intimidated. I was nervous. I wasn't sure that I could cut it as a student, as an engineer. And it was it was certainly different than high school.
Hmm.
Different expectations, different schedules. The curriculum it's 100% like 95% technical and problem solving. And it worked well with me.
Hmm.
I liked the challenge. I liked the classes. That for the most part, they kept me interested. And I ended up I graduated with like a 3.8 or something like that.
Hmm. Did you
So
graduate in 4 years, or did you run over a little
I
bit?
did. Coach doesn't always like me saying this, but I did do a co-op. So I took a semester
Hmm.
to work with Arco actually, and then I did 4.5
Okay.
academic, 5 years total.
Gotcha. How would you say your time at Missouri S&T? Obviously, you just mentioned the co-op with Arco, but how would you say your time at Missouri S&T, the opportunities that are presented to students, like the career fairs and everything else, how did that help prepare you for your professional career? And you've been at Arco since like day one of your tenure, correct?
Yeah, I did that co-op with them in 2012,
Hmm.
and I did work at Burns and McDonnell in Kansas City for a
Okay.
summer, and then ended up coming back to Arco and for like another summer, and then full time. Had a full time offer, halfway into my final year at S&T.
Hmm.
But I can tell you, like I do recruiting for Arco.
Yeah. No, I saw you back at the fall career fair. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more regionally, so I'm going to Mizzou and SIUE and Missouri State and several other colleges between like Missouri, Illinois.
Hmm.
Um, S&T is second to none in how they prepare their students professionally.
Hmm.
They offer, I mean, the career fair itself is like the turnout is fantastic. You have lines out the door of students that want to talk to these companies about their opportunities.
Hmm.
Um, the um, the preparation for them, the resume review. I understand a lot of them are engineers, so the communication aspect is not necessarily something you can prepare
Yeah.
someone for, but they do. I mean, they do have any trainings or anything you'd like for that at S&T.
Hmm.
And the students are smart, so that they're good problem solvers. That they're in a tough curriculum. So S&T is obviously a favorite by so many companies, which is why the career fairs are
Hmm.
so popular and have such a good turnout. It's for that reason.
Well, just kind of looking back over the collective time, your time in Rolla with baseball and everything else, what stands out to you the most about your experience here? Obviously, your wife Carly played basketball here. Um, just anything that just kind of stands out of note, any memories or anything. Just what made your time here in Rolla special for you?
Uh, it's a lot of different things. Baseball was obviously part of it.
Hmm.
Um, excuse me. The people, I think at a big university such as Mizzou, for
Hmm.
example, um, you just it's a little bit easier to get lost in the shuffle, maybe to
Hmm.
find a group or to find what you're interested in. And Raleigh is just it's so unique and charming in the fact that it's very specific into what it does well, which is
Hmm.
engineering education, technical education. So everyone there is just kind of a little nerdy, a little different, and there's it's just a great atmosphere to go to school there. Um, it's very special. Additionally, I was like very into being outside. So, there's plenty to do outside of Rolla.
Oh, absolutely.
Go floating, you can go fishing. There's hunting opportunities, of course. But I liked all that. I like the small town feel. I really like the one-on-one with teachers and the smaller class sizes. I think it all just lends to that overall experience that everyone loves about Rolla.
Absolutely. You said you mentioned again, you keep in touch with a lot of those guys that you played with. And I know we got the alumni game every year, and you guys, as many of you guys try to come back and do that every year. You guys just, do you get together, still take trips with each other? I've obviously I'm sure everybody's been to each other's weddings at this point. So,
yeah, Sam Adams got married on Saturday.
Okay. Congratulations to Sam and Mrs. Adams.
I could not make that with this whole baby thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we take a trip once a year. We go down to actually where Sam's from, which is Forsyth, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And we spend 2 days out on Bull Shoals Lake. We rent two pontoons and bring all the kids, like all the families are growing, which is actually really cool. And we once a year we spend a lot of time together. And on top of that, we're doing we're hanging out on weekends. We're going out to dinners and getting the kids together. So it's special, man. It's a special bond. It's a special group of guys.
Absolutely.
And it's really cool that we're all or a lot of us are still in connection.
If you could sum up the entirety of your time here at Missouri S&T into like one sentence, what would it be?
Wow, that's a hard question. One sentence would be Missouri S&T played a major role in my life for the better.
Yeah.
How about that?
It works. So, it's obviously things worked out really well for you, both personally and professionally, along with your athletic career. One of the most decorated arms of all time to don the green and gold. Yeah, being, your last year was my first year, so it was great to get to know you and kind of, you older guys kind of help welcome me in and kind of help get me going on my journey to doing what I'm doing now. So, I thank you to you guys for that. I know some of you older guys are like, wow, student manager, what is this guy doing here? And trying to figure out what I was supposed to do and everything else. So,
well, congratulations, by the way. I mean, you've done a great job of kind of building something that is so necessary. Shout out. I don't know if you manage the Instagram accounts, but man, I do appreciate it. It's so funny to look back and see kind of what the grind is that these kids are going through, and year to year, see how much coach has kind of softened up on them. They're not even, doing hill sprints or
the kids now don't even know what the long loop is anymore.
Oh my God. I'm gonna have to talk to them about that.
So, but no, thank you, John, for the kind words. Thank you for all that you've done for Missouri S&T baseball and all you continue to do for the program and with the alumni. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know, like I said, it's the life of an engineer is never a dull one. There's always something going on. Congratulations to you and Carly on your second child. Wish you guys all the best, and thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for having me on.
That's John Auble, former pitcher here at Missouri S&T. We're going to step aside, take a short break, be back again on the other side with another guest on this episode of Inside the Mind, presented by Dickey's Barbecue Pit. to Inside the Mind. This episode, again, presented by Dickey's Barbecue Pit. Again, want to thank them for their support of Missouri S&T Athletics and their membership in the S&T Corporate Club. Joining us now, really excited about this guest. He was a member of the Missouri S&T baseball team from 2009 to 2012, was a member of the coaching staff during the 2013 season. During his time in Rolla, he helped guide the Miners to their first ever GLVC West Division title in 2011 and first NCAA appearance since 1972, also in that year, before helping the Miners repeat as West Division champions again the following season. One of Coach Todd DeGraffenried's go-to arms in his career, his name can be found all over the baseball record books, ranks first all-time in program history in wins with 26, innings pitched with 260 and a third, strikeouts with 202, and is tied for second all-time in games pitched with 72, ranks fourth all-time with a 3.60 ERA, and is sixth with 11 complete games all-time. He's also in the top 10 of numerous single-season records, and he graduated from Missouri S&T with a degree in mechanical engineering, now works for Wheeling Metals. Please welcome Zack Gronek to the show. Zack, thanks for taking time out of your day to chat with us. I know the life of an engineer is always a busy one, but appreciate you taking time to chat with us. How are you doing, man?
Doing great, doing great. First of all, thank you for having me. It is definitely an honor to still be a part of the organization and just
Mm-hmm.
be able to follow and still stay in touch with a lot of the guys
Mm-hmm.
and yourself included. So it's a pleasure to be here. And again, thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for everything you did with your time with the baseball program as a player and a coach, and thank you for all you continue to do with the alumni network here at Missouri S&T as well. No, it's an exciting thing to see all the older guys still being engaged with the program and coming back whenever their schedules permit for things like the reunion this weekend and the alumni game every year in October. So we'll go ahead and jump right into the conversation. Kind of start at the beginning here with you. Coming up through high school, you're going through looking at places to possibly continue your career as a baseball player and also get an education. How did you end up at Missouri S&T, come to Rolla, and how was that transition for you going from high school to college?
So going to S&T was something that I always wanted to do growing up as a kid. Talks early on in my high school career of wanting to play baseball, but most importantly wanting to get an engineering degree.
Mm-hmm.
And living here in St. Charles, Rolla right down the road. There's really not much else you can say. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of you go there for engineering, and so it was kind of one of those things where I didn't know too much about the baseball team. I had a fairly good career in high school. Was on a really good team, a lot of good guys around us. I think there was like 10 guys on my high school team that had the option of playing college baseball. So surrounded by a lot of good guys. And I was like, you know what, let's just give it a shot. Reached out to Coach Graff and, ended up getting on the team. I was grateful enough to receive a scholarship, and I knew right then and there it's where I wanted to be. So after meeting with Coach and seeing the campus, meeting some guys on the team, to me it was a no-brainer. So got to do engineering as well as continue my dream of playing baseball.
So was engineering something you knew you wanted to do, pretty early on?
I did. It was something that so my grandfather played a big part of my life,
Mm-hmm.
and growing up, he would always tell me like, I really think you should look into engineering. I think that this is something that you would really enjoy, really like. He was in HR, so he had a really good, view of all types of different degrees and positions. And as I continue to look into it and dive into it and kind of take high school classes that were kind of leading in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
It really became to be the best fit for me. So
For sure. Well, fast forward a little bit. Your first couple of years, 2009, 2010, couple of 19 win seasons for the program. Also, that 2010 season, you set a school record with 27 appearances in that season. But at that time, there was still a lot of change in the baseball program, trying to find that way to be a consistent presence in the GOVC and everything else. Going into that 2011 season, What was the feeling kind of going into that season with that group of guys that you had, and what was it that clicked that season that just
So
was able to just bring everything together and be able to accomplish what you guys did?
So, like you said, let's start at the beginning here. So, 2009,
Mm-hmm.
freshman year, got some good playing time, enjoyed it, but I just didn't feel the chemistry with the team. Like
Mm-hmm.
we had a lot of good individual players, a lot of really talented people,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't feel like we meshed. Kind of like in 2010 as well. For me myself, it was a transition. So freshman year, I started in the bullpen, transition to starter, and then sophomore year I was pretty much full time in the bullpen. Obviously, something a little different than I did in high school,
Mm-hmm.
but really enjoyed it. Getting to find my spot on the team and where I could help the team the most was important to me. Then we get into that 2011 season, and I remember talking to coach that fall, that spring, like, well, what do where do you see fit? What are you thinking? And I said, coach, I don't care. I just want to win ball games. I'm tired of losing.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you think I'm the best fit on this team to win games. And as we went through that fall, it felt different. The group of guys, really, I shout out to the senior leadership on that team. A lot of good guys in that senior class. A lot of heart for sure in that class as well. And it was cool too because some of those guys were transfer guys, some of those guys were 4-year guys.
Mm-hmm.
But really, like I said, a lot of good senior leadership. We transitioned into the spring, and we kind of started the season, and like I said, it just continued to feel different. Like we started winning some games, starting to put some things together. Um, Things started just kind of rolling, and we just kept going. It was one season I'll never forget.
Yeah.
I look back at the teammates that we had. Again, hats off to that senior class for really helping out,
Mm-hmm.
driving the leadership throughout that whole year. So
Yeah, you had guys like Grant Brasher, Alex Dunn, Zach Carter, Ben Pieper, and Drew Davenport, and guys like that. I believe there's also pretty. I know we talked with John Auble earlier, and he mentioned there was a pretty big influx of junior college guys, so guys that had been around, and
that is correct.
they had played college baseball, they had been through the grind, and just things came together at the right time with that infusion of guys like a Lee Vothgatter and a Josh Caffrey, a Will
Absolutely.
McCord, with you guys that had been there for 2 years and been through the ups and the downs and everything else.
Absolutely. Those every one of those names that you mentioned there are the exact people that I'm thinking, talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And to John's point, the new blood that came in as junior college transfers, so that the Caffrey and Lee and Will, those are the guys that I ended up graduating with, and I'll tell you the spark that they brought, coming from I think Illinois. I mean, they were all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
so it was great. I mean, the spark that they brought, the energy, it was second to none. And you combine that with that senior class that was tired of getting beat down. They worked so hard. It's their last hurrah as seniors, and
Mm-hmm.
they did their thing, and boy, we took off that year.
Yeah, there's a record from that season that still stands to this day. That 10-game winning streak that began against Quincy and Ape and ran through the first round of the GLVC tournament. Still the longest in program history. It's been there's been a couple times since it's been close. 2016, 2017, most recently this year. Got within one. Had a 9-game winning streak early on this year, but 2011, you go 10-1 in the regular season. Single season record with 10 wins. You draw Southern Indiana first round of the NCAA tournament. They're the defending national champions. You get the ball and you absolutely shut them down. I think it's a 4-hit complete game shutout. What's going through your head when you're on the mound in that game?
When I'm in that game, I honestly, nothing was going through my head. I was so focused on pitching, and I was so worried about making sure that I got the ball
Mhm.
over the plate, did not walk people, and let those guys put the ball in play. Because I don't know if you remember or seen those stats. That defense that I had behind me, it did not matter where that ball was hit. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It truly was. That defense was probably the best defense I've ever got to play with.
Mhm.
And I mean, it didn't matter where they hit it; that it was going to be an out somewhere. So really, I didn't have any worries. I knew that I just could not walk people. I couldn't give up free bases. I couldn't give up free passes on the bases. I just had to do my job
Mhm.
and throw strikes and trust the guys behind me.
That's one thing you were really good at in your career was not issuing free passes. You know that your final season in 2012, you struck out 70 and only issued 9 walks. And I was talking with John Keane before I left the office today. He said you were probably more likely to hit somebody than to walk them if that if
I
that
did.
situation came up.
Yes.
Was that what was your, obviously you said you were just going out there trying to throw strikes, but just, having that mindset of, you're not going to beat me at the plate and you're going to have to work your way on base.
The biggest thing for me was trusting my catcher.
Hmm.
I had a great relationship with Caffrey.
Hmm.
It did not matter. We never disagreed. Didn't matter what he put down. Didn't matter what situation was. He didn't care what pitch he was calling. And I always told myself, you got to throw everything with conviction.
Hmm.
Anytime you have doubt, it's not the right pitch. You gotta step in, toe the rubber, and throw everything with conviction. And that's what I did. That's what I like to do was just light it up with strikes. And as John would say, I did hit a lot of people. I think I had more hit batters than I did walks, but the reason is because I was not scared to go inside.
Hmm.
Uh, I know that I talked to my buddy on Southern Indiana after that game. The year later or whatnot,
Hmm.
and I asked him. I said, "What was the scouting report?" And he said it was hard and late, which obviously hard for me was a 72-mile-an-hour fastball, but it doesn't matter. I mean, um, I like to throw my fastball and I
Yeah.
trust my fastball. So it's all about spotting up to me.
Hmm.
I never was a guy that was going to light up a radar gun, but like I said, you throw everything with conviction and trust the guys behind you as well as trusting the guy that was putting down the sign. So
Yeah, I'd say it worked out pretty well for you by the time everything was all said and done. 2012, bringing a lot of those guys back from that 2011 team. You surpass the previous season's win total. Go 32-15, win the West again. Unfortunately, missed out on the GOVC tournament or on the NCAA tournament. Excuse me. Um, what was it, that kind of started in 2011 that was you guys were able to carry over into that following year in 2012?
I really think it was what we learned from that class before us. I
Hmm.
mean, I really can't say enough about that senior class. Like a lot of good friends in there still,
Hmm.
a lot of good guys. One of my best friends, Alex Dunn. So he helped lead that class. 4-year guy
Hmm.
that walked on, just earned his way
Hmm.
at every position along the way. So like learning from those guys, learning how to mentor the young guys, learning how to bring the team together, and then just really going out and having fun.
Hmm.
We all deserve to be there. We just had to prove it. So
Absolutely. Switch gears real quick. We'll talk about your time as a student part of a student athlete at Missouri S&T. Obviously, a little bit more rigorous than it would be at some other places with the academic demands in Rolla. What was your time like as a student, and what stood out to you during the course of your studies as a mechanical engineering major?
eye opening.
I
You
think
come
that
in as
that
a
ha- that that happens to a lot of us.
yeah, you come in as a freshman. Myself, I didn't really put a whole lot of time and effort into high school.
Hmm.
Really got to focus on baseball most of the time. You come here, you somewhat think the same thing. No, you know that it's going to be a little bit harder, but I don't think I quite understood what it was going to, what engineering entailed as far as academics. So very eye opening. Definitely don't discredit the what everybody says
Hmm.
about it is tough, it is engineering, and you do have to work for it.
Hmm.
But switching gears on that, I had some of that too as a baseball player, right?
Hmm.
Like I typically was one of the better pitchers on my team growing up, and I wasn't that when I stepped into Rolla. And so that's when it's everybody's there because they're in the same boat you were growing
Hmm.
up. And so a lot of hard work and time, on both academics and baseball wise to get to where you needed to be. So.
How did your time at Missouri S&T prepare you to go do what you're doing for a living now? Obviously the career fairs are a big part of it. Were you able to do any like internships or anything during the summers? I know co-ops are kind of tough to do with
Sure.
baseball, throughout, starting in the fall, run through the spring. But just how did your that time at Missouri S&T prepare you to go be an engineer for a living?
Sure, yeah. So about 2 or 3 summers, I worked, did an internship at an HVAC company,
Hmm.
local here in St. Charles, right there in Wing Haven area, right
Hmm.
down the road. It was awesome. I got to work the first round. I did an internship kind of like on the shop floor, working like for the engineers. So work orders provided by them, and it was a lot of R&D.
Hmm.
Second summer, worked with the engineers. So then I got to be the one writing the work orders for the R&D and doing different testing and things like that. Always kind of thought that HVAC was, a road that I could potentially go down.
Hmm.
Um, took some took the HVAC class at Rolla as one of my electives, and then at the career fair. Went to the Olin Brass booth. That was the name of my company at the time.
Hmm.
We've been since bought out by Wheelan, but really hit it off with the recruiter who was
Hmm.
going to be my boss, and been there ever since. Really enjoyed uh, the person that I was
Hmm.
going to work for. So yeah.
That's awesome. It's always a treat to just kind of hear everybody's stories of how they came to Raleigh, what their time was like here, and how they they go on to do what they do for a living and everything. Um, Looking back and reflecting on your time here as a player, as a coach for a season as well. Um, First, we definitely want to acknowledge everybody that came before you that started helping change everything. But your group really helped shift the culture around the baseball program and change the expectations of, hey, we're just here to, hey, we can win games, we can compete for championships, and we can go out on the national stage and hang with people that are contenders that go to the World Series every year. Looking back, what does all that mean to you to have been a part of one of the most successful runs in program history?
I think it's pretty special. I look back at this 2011 team and just I relive a lot of those games that we were in.
Hmm.
Not just the ones that I was pitching, but a lot of the ones that I was in the dugout, unable to really help.
Hmm.
But those were some of the most fun memories that I have looking back. You look at some of the guys that really worked hard for 4 years and got us very close.
Hmm.
We were very close a few times. Maybe not so with the record the first couple years,
Hmm.
but we were only a couple games away from making the postseason. And
Hmm.
at that time, that was kind of like what we were striving for. How can we scratch and claw to get into that postseason?
Sure.
And, I think of one guy in particular that kind of helped me on the pitching side, and that was Andrew Page.
Hmm.
Kind of taking me under his wing and working with me. And like I said, I think his senior year, we were one game away or something like that. And those guys were extremely helpful. Very grateful for what they did. Thomas McCormick, same kind of deal there
Hmm.
on the fielding side. Uh, Big, outfielder and first base, whatnot. But those guys, help lay this groundwork that
Hmm.
then we could come in as my junior year and then the senior class there and really take it on from there. So I remember, and I was talking to Harry earlier today,
Mhm.
Harry Dunsford, another guy that worked his tail off, from year one to year five, and
He was your closer when he was at
yeah,
it.
it was
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely, yeah. So
I
he,
I heard his slider was so nasty that guys didn't realize it was a slider until they got back to the dugout.
yeah, it was unreal. The mindset that that dude had, you always felt comfortable with him. Sometimes he made it extremely interesting because sometimes he didn't know where the ball was going, but I always felt comfortable as long as we could get it to him that he'd take us home. So it was really good. But one thing that me and him were talking about, he goes, I think about uh, all the times Coach talked about we got to overcome adversity.
Mhm.
And Coach preached that day in and day out. And he was talking about how like he relates it to today, everyday life. And
Mhm.
then I was kind of thinking like, that's really what our classes did. We really started as freshmen and had really tough records, and then we kept overcoming day in and day out until we eventually got over that hurdle and kind of started, this new trend of Missouri S&T baseball now
Mhm.
that I really feel like has gotten us on the map. And you go to some of those teams behind us. What was it, like 2015, 2016 timeframe? I mean,
16 had
yeah,
the 39 win season going to
yeah,
the regional final. Yep.
one game away or two
Mhm.
games away, whatever it was from Cary. I mean, those guys, coming in, shortly after us and
Mhm.
continuing that, a lot of good ball players in that group of guys as well. It's great to see those guys coming back for those alumni events and things like that. But I mean, talk about another good run by another good group of freshmen all the way through seniors there too. So
Yeah, you hit it on the head talking about your group. That 2016 team could do it all. The pitching was there, the hitting was there, the defense was there, the leadership was there. I know again, just with our outfield that year, we joked we could take our top four outfielders to the GLVC track meet and probably get on the podium at the 4x1 relay. You,
absolutely.
you had you had Tyler Bodenstab out there. You had Tyler Johnson. You had Tyler Shutt and Eli Miller, and that
Yeah.
was and those guys made the outfield over here in Rolla look small. And for those that know
Which
what
it's not small.
and for those that know, it's 366, 388, 348, and it's 415 to the scoreboard in right
Yeah.
center. So,
Very pitcher friendly, which I also loved.
oh, absolutely.
So,
I was telling John when we were chatting with him earlier that the wind. I mean, there's always been a power surge to begin the year this year, and a lot. And don't get me wrong, some of these guys are laying into balls that are getting out, but some of these that are just getting up in the wind and it's just carrying. Like the last couple of weeks, it's just been gusting at least one day
oh man.
over the course of the series, but. Um, I do want to ask you this. I forgot I didn't get to ask John this question. So I want to ask you this. How did you guys decide that Snake Farm was was the song was such a great song to play and bring it back from Rolla? Just what was I know
That,
I've talked with Todd about that story, but I want to hear it from one of you guys.
that's a terrible song, but it's great, isn't it?
The
Just sounds nasty.
best bad song of all time, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
uh,
man. That I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Snake Farm song, I want to say this was the weekend that I got told I wasn't going to throw,
uh,
and still made the trip. And I believe we went all the way to King College
yep,
and
in Bristol, yep.
yeah. And I believe that's where that song came from, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I I vaguely remember us hearing it during batting practice and making fun of the song and hearing it every day while we were out there. And then we decided to bring it back and play it for some whatever reason. I have no idea. And we went with it and just kept going. I I remember we played it for Southern Indiana
Mhm.
later that year when they were in town. I believe that was that year.
Yeah.
And guy that played on Southern Indiana, he made a Snake Farm shirt. So I just know
Oh
that
man.
I don't know where that song, like I've never heard it before in my life, and then all of a sudden, we're playing it all the time
Oh yeah.
that year. It was
Well,
unreal.
you'll be glad to know that's still a thing. It has become an institution at Missouri S&T, and during that 2016 run, that became almost a rallying cry. And I think for a time after the NCAA regional where we beat Quincy at their place, they quit playing that song whenever we were in town.
I
um,
I cannot believe that's still a thing, but I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, we're going back this weekend for 10 years
mm,
for 2011, 2012, and I feel like it was just yesterday that we were down there playing. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's been a quick 10 years.
Absolutely, time definitely flies when and somebody who's been now in college athletics for this is my ninth year now. It only seems like yesterday that I was setting foot on campus as a freshman, and then the first Wednesday I was in town, joining the baseball program in my role and everything. So,
Absolutely.
Zach, I appreciate you taking time out of your evening and chatting with us. You know, that was a great conversation, and I think that's really the kind of the first time I've really been able to kind of talk with you. I know we've caught up at alumni games in the past and everything, but it's always just kind of been passing stuff. But I really enjoyed talking with you and just kind of hearing your story and everything. And again, thank you for all you did while you were here as a student athlete and as a coach, and thank you for everything you continue to do as an alum.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Hats off to you as well.
Mhm.
I know that athletics isn't first at that school, and Todd's got a incredibly difficult job himself. Not getting all the assistance at all these D1s and
Mhm.
stuff, and I know having you helping out those couple of years, it was really really awesome to see you kind of turn things over on the media side and things like that. And I know you went away after college and had a job, and it was really awesome to
Mhm.
see you coming back. Your passion for not only the baseball team but the athletics department is pretty awesome. So I know they're very fortunate to have you on staff. So
Awesome.
thanks
Thank you.
for
Thank you, Gronek, for the kind words and again for your time this evening. Look forward to seeing you and the rest of the guys back this weekend, and we'll have a good time and see if we can't put some W's on the scoreboard against Lewis. So
absolute. Oh man, that's it's a great school for to come back for. I felt I had a rough game there one year, and I always enjoy beating Lewis. So hopefully those guys do it this year. And yeah, look forward to seeing you guys on Friday. So hopefully we can start the series out right.
awesome. Sounds good. That's Zack Gronek, one of the all-time greats to ever pitch here at Missouri S&T. That'll help us wrap up this episode of Inside the Mind, again presented by Dickey's Barbecue Pit. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you may be watching or listening. That way you don't miss any future episodes. If you have, you can get caught up on those at minorathletics.com under the Fan Zone tab. Check out the Inside the Mind podcast. All of the previous episodes are archived there. Thank you all again for taking time out of your day to listen to us. We appreciate your support as always. We look forward to seeing you come out and support the Miners as the season goes on. So thank you again. So cheers and go Miners.